Alex Cattoni and her company, the Posse. I love their goal, which is to de-douchify the internet with modern marketing. Not only that, Alex herself was Marketer of the Year for digital marketing. She has over 250,000 followers on YouTube that she built from the bottom, and she calls her movement the Empathy Empire. So Alex and I met 13 years ago, and she surprised me recently by showing that she had actually screenshot that moment that we had an interaction of me going to an event where she was the brand experience boss. And it was one of the best events that I've ever been to. And now she's teaching entrepreneurs and copywriters how to move the world with words. And in this episode of Femmefluencer Radio, we talk about how we are mutually recovering perfectionists and how Alex found her specific rhythm to share content in a way that didn't feel hard, but instead felt super fun because it's one of her highest values. We also talked about one more thing that I thought was super important for you to hear, and that is when we discover how to ditch things that are no longer working for us and how that process works. So it's a really cool episode, and you're going to learn a ton from her. So I can't wait for you to dive in. Hey, Alex, I'm so excited you're here.
I'm so excited to be here.
I feel like it's been forever. We were talking yesterday about how we met 13 years ago.
That's wild.
In Hawaii.
Yep.
By accident, kind of-ish, but not really. So it's so cool to come full circle, and we still look the same, girl.
That's the exact same.
That's all I can say. It's shocking. It must be the skincare. But anyway, we're talking about Femmefluence, yes. Right? And I define Femmefluence as kind of like your superpower in the world. Can you tell us what your Femmefluence is?
Yeah. I was thinking about this. And it to quote Jen Ken, brevity and clarity.
Hey.
I'm like, how do I say this brief and clear? But I would say my Femmefluence is helping people rediscover their creativity and their voice and their passion for people by starting and serving companies that are making an impact in the world. And I do that through teaching marketing and copywriting and brand experiences and the type that audiences are so desperately craving right now.
I mean, obviously we're going to point people to you later in this conversation, but I love the way that you share content. It is so...
Thank you.
It's delightful. It's easy to consume. It's beautiful to look at. It's always on brand. And I think that can also, tell me what you think about this. People get intimidated sometimes when they see it looks so shiny and sparkly. Can you talk a little bit about your process and how you do it a little bit more?
Yeah, and it's funny that you say that because one of my goals for this year is to show up a little bit grittier. But I think, as a recovering perfectionist, I knew when starting my brand that I really wanted it to look and feel a certain way. But also, for me, it was all about it being fun. And it's bright colors. And I have tigers and lightning bolts. And I'm like, how can I just make this fully me and show up that way? And it started slow. Now I talk a lot about content creation and the thousands of pieces of content that we post across all platforms in a year. But it started just really simply creating YouTube content and then getting, just really clear on how I wanted that to show up and how I wanted to appear on, platforms like Instagram and things like that. But when you look at it now and you compare it back, I didn't start all, glitzy. It took me a while to find my brand voice. And I think that's a misconception that a lot of people have when they're starting businesses is they think they have to have it perfect right away and they can't start unless it's exactly that. But I can tell you that like half the time, well, actually probably all the time, I am paving the road as I'm walking down it. Like,
I think, and this is good advice when you hear you should listen to your audience to then inform what you produce, but also doing it a bit gritty. And if you consider elementary school, I think we have our own insecurities as, Alex is talking about, we want it to be perfect too, that you have to love it too. Because then it's hard to produce, you're going to find out what you like. Like you actually love this particular aesthetic. Because at first you think you like it. And then you're like, oh, I don't like it anymore. Because that's happened to me a lot.
Absolutely.
I've ditched a ton of aesthetics. I've ditched a ton of even setups, or even I've ditched entire platforms. Once I start to figure out like rhythm wise, it doesn't work for me. And one more thing I caught that I want to make sure everybody else caught is that you started with YouTube. You chose a vehicle first.
Yep.
And you worked on that skill to get that into momentum. And then you populated other platforms. Is that correct?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Do you think that that's really important for people to do first? Pick something and then kind of go for it and then publish it?
I think so, because it can be really overwhelming. And I talk a lot about, omni-channel marketing, or being as present as possible in many places, because people hang out in different places. But in the beginning, I really did kind of go, okay, YouTube, it terrifies me. I had never done a video before.
Oh, wow.
And so people always ask me, they're like, what did you do to get good at video? Like, you just do it. Like, I purposely left my very first video on YouTube so everybody can go see how bad I look there. Like, the lighting was terrible. It was not good. But I think you start and you kind of lean in and you get better. And I love what you said about ditching things, because one of the things I love to say is you're allowed to change your mind. That's the whole point of evolution. And so when coming up with branding, it's so much more than just the aesthetic, because you want to be able to change your colors, change your vibe, and people still know that it's you because of your values and what you stand for.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, I love that. Okay, so when did you discover that your superpower, aka your Femmefluence, was actually your Femmefluence?
Oof. So I was the creative director and event director at Mind Valley, which is a large publishing company. And I left the company in 2011 and started working behind the scenes as a freelance copywriter. Well, actually, first of all, as a marketing consultant, then realized that every one of my clients needed copy. And I was like, well, I guess I can try to do that. And then started copywriting. And it was around 2018 or so that I really started noticing this divide in the industry. I would tell people I was a copywriter. I remember one time I was at a party and I told a guy I was a copywriter, and he's like, oh, you're the one who writes all those spam emails that I get in my inbox. And I was like mortified. I was like, how dare he? And I thought, this is really the bad rap that copywriters and marketers are getting. Whereas I really felt like, no, I'm working with brands and businesses that are serving people and making a difference, and I'm helping get their message out. And so I really realized that there was sort of this dangerous divide in the industry. While there were so many brands and businesses who had incredible products and services and wanted to make a difference in the lives of others, there was this other side of, opportunistic promoters who were like, I'm just going to create a product and sell it because I'm a good marketer and I know how to sell stuff and I don't even really care about it.
Right.
And so I really realized that I wanted to be part of bridging this gap between this like direct response marketing world and real brand building, and how could I empower more people who had those incredible products with direct response marketing principles that work, but then combining that with the brand experiences that people want, and kind of transitioning the sales power, if you will, to brands and businesses that I feel deserved more attention from the audiences.
I remember when I started watching your videos, and then you started talking about you help people write or learn how to write non-douchey copy. I was like, that is my girl right there, and we did meet through a brand experience.
Yes.
And I love seeing you now integrate brand experience with copy, because at the end of the day, and I hope if you're watching this, whether you're a copywriter or you're in a business or you're just somebody who likes watching videos like this, that copy is what moves the world. And I think people don't realize that copy words matter. They're extremely powerful. And so they need great care and thought. And it's not just verbal, it's the written word is so, so powerful. And this is how we become loyal to brands, good, bad, or indifferent.
Yeah.
So I just think people wielding the copy pen, and that's where I came from in my former life in corporate. So for me, it's like, I have so much respect for the craft, because it is a craft. And I love that you are a stan for the up level of the craft, that it's not being associated with the used car salesman metaphor, right?
Yes, exactly.
So how do you create space for fun and joy and creativity in your life?
Well, so fun is actually my number one value, personally and in my company.
Awesome.
And so I try to reflect that in everything that I do, because I really think that at the end of the day, we're all here to have fun and help people. Like, that's that's my, my highest level purpose. But as a classic overachiever, I really had to work at creating space because I think like a lot of people and women especially, we fall into that. I don't know if it's like a need to prove something and I can do this, but it's always that what's next. And having to really go, no, it's in the space that the beautiful moments and inspiration really happen. And so I've had to work on it. Like I'm really not good at it. And I'm working at it because there was a time where, especially after I launched the Copy Posse and my brand started to really take off, I felt like I couldn't take my foot off the gas pedal. And that if I did, everything would come crumbling down and I needed to be online 24/7. And if I was offline even for a day, I kind of had that panicky feeling. And so I've had to really work at saying, okay, no, I'm prioritizing myself. I'm prioritizing space. I recently just stepped out of a mastermind that I co-hosted for 8 years.
Wow.
A lot of it because, it was great revenue. I know you talked yesterday about how you had to let go of a $2 million a year revenue stream. It was great. It was great money. A lot of people look from the outside and go, why would you, it was only 3 events a year. Like, why would you let that go?
Yeah.
And it all I could say was that it just no longer felt in full alignment of where I'm going and that I knew I needed to let that go. And it was hard, but actively working at it.
Yes. And I love that. I love that. First of all, thank you for your vulnerability. And second of all, that idea of ditching what's not working and not from a place of worrying, will people still like me? Will I ruin a relationship with the people that I've caused? It's just, if it's not in alignment, there's a way to elegantly unhook yourself. And I think we do. I go to the lowest common denominator in my own mind when I'm like, oh, I don't want to hurt people, or what am I going to be missing out on? That FOMO thing, right?
Who am I letting down?
And also, like, I've worked 9 years at this thing. I should continue. Nothing's wrong with it.
Right.
But I think that the elimination is how we make space, and it's scary, and we're all working at it. So thank you for saying you're a work in progress, because I think that's really important.
And what you said of like letting something go even though there's nothing wrong with it.
Yeah.
I feel like we really need to normalize that as entrepreneurs, because we tend to get into this space where we're like, okay, boundaries, and if it's toxic, or if like, that's when we know to let it go.
Right.
But sometimes it can be something that isn't bad. In fact, there can be a lot of good things about it, but it's just not in full alignment to where it is you want to go. And it's like in relationships. I saw a quote like, let's normalize ending relationships just because they're not what's best for you, not that they're toxic or that something is wrong with them.
Right.
And I think that that's an important distinction.
Oh my God, I love that. I think can we all make a plan to just normalize that? Because that's the part that gets, I think, especially women, overworked. Because once we start seeing something succeed, like you said, when your brand started taking off, you're like, okay, I got to keep my foot on the accelerator. And there's times to keep your foot on the accelerator, and there's times to take a break. There's a time to turn in that car and get a new model, right? And so I love all of that, and it gives us all permission to do the same. Okay, so what's your advice for women who want to be rich, recognized, and respected on their terms, on their values? What's one of the first steps that you'd advise them to be thinking about as they owned being rich, recognized, and respected?
So the first thing that's coming up for me is stop hiding. So I was really reflecting on this last night. I called my fiance after the amazing Femmefluencer dinner, and I was talking about how you and I had met 13 years ago, and I was at the height of my career as, the creative director of this multi-million-dollar company at age 25. And then I essentially disappeared for 8 years. And there was a lot of reasons for that. I think it was wondering, like, could I do this on my own as an actual entrepreneur? What if I tried and then I failed and then people saw? Would it devalue or diminish the success that I had when I was in this 9-to-5 career? I mean, God, I could self-analyze myself all day. But, it was in 2019 that I finally decided to start my YouTube channel. And that was 8 whole damn years after you and I met at this event that I had organized. And I think, everything happens in the right timing. But I would say it's to stop hiding and to stop comparing yourself to what other people are doing.
Yeah. Because
it is so easy. And I find myself in this loop sometimes where I look on social media, whatever, and you see other people doing things and you think, oh, well, they're really successful, so that must be what I have to do in order to be successful. And I think the best advice I could give is do what you want to do. Break the rules. When I started my business, I had so many people, because, I come from direct response marketing. I have so many friends that were like, you need to create more offers. You need to do affiliate marketing. You need to, and like, I was like, okay, yeah, but I really don't want to, And so I didn't. And guess what? I still scaled a multi-7-figure business. Like, it's doing what you want to do, because when you're in alignment and you stop comparing yourself to others, people can feel that. It's just a different energy, and stop hiding just whatever that looks like for you.
I love it because to the duality of it, like you've said, you were insecure, you were questioning yourself, you're recovering from perfectionism, and yet you stayed the path. You stayed as true to yourself as you possibly could. And what I hope people to hear in that is, you can be scared, you can be having FOMO, you can be trying to keep up with the social media Joneses and still be focused on your thing. And I think there's this if or conversation instead of and I can be, and just acknowledge the anxiety, the stress, because I feel the same. I'm exactly like you. And I remember when I came onto the scene, I was like, this is an interesting way of doing business. And even though I came from direct response marketing from the corporate side, which is different actually than the entrepreneurial side, I was like, this is so weird. Like when people were like, you need to do affiliates if you want to grow your visibility. And I was like, what I really want to do is I just want to work with people because I want results to power my authority and my approachability and the things that I wanted to be known for. But I want to say the whole time I was like, every year on the strategic planning was like, should we do affiliates this year?
Yep.
Should we do, YouTube, by the way, for example, you are probably watching this on YouTube. And I've been wanting to do it for 5 years. And every year it fell off of the strategic planning because we knew what we wanted to do with it. And I felt like if we couldn't do that, I'd want to still just go deeper with client work. Right. But it was a hard decision because I was like, we're going to get left behind. We're not visible enough. We're not this and this. And so whatever it is, first and foremost, look at your values and look at what you really enjoy doing, right? Because to me, that's the best way to polish your craft.
100%.
Because then you're motivated and inspired from yourself, not outside forces, to actually just get better and better and better. So,
and that's the only thing that'll keep you going.
Oh, I mean, God. Entrepreneurship is so hard.
Oh my gosh. Like everyone, it's so funny how everyone always says like, wow, you came out of nowhere. And I'm like, no, I didn't.
Well, I know you didn't because I remember you way back when.
I didn't come out of nowhere. But it took me 6 months to get to 1,000 subscribers on YouTube. And I could have given up at 4 months and been like, well, that was a big failure. I'm not gonna try again, or see, it didn't work. Whatever belief we're reinforcing in our brain about why something's not gonna work. And I just kept going because at the end of the day, I genuinely enjoyed how it was pushing me out of my comfort zone, the things I was learning. I was becoming a better teacher. I was becoming a better copywriter by talking about it. And I did it for me. And then you're like, oh, there's a comment on that video that isn't someone I know. Oh my gosh, people are following me now, And so it doesn't happen overnight, but you have to do it for you.
That whole part about it doesn't happen overnight. It looks like it happens overnight. Even for you watching right now, there's this beautiful set. We're actually repurposing it from a birthday party I had yesterday, and it's going to go away because it's temporary. Obviously, there's live flowers here. And I didn't get stressed out thinking, I'm going to have to recreate this set every single time I do a Femmefluencer podcast series. But I did actually. I was like, oh, maybe I'm going to have to do this every single time. And I just no. I talked myself out of it. No, I can do something else. Totally. This can be a little series. You can always shift things. You don't have to get stuck. Yep. Love that. So what are some things, I've kind of heard some, but I wonder if there's others. Did you have to unlearn to get to where you are now?
I think, I mean, on top of all the things that I mentioned, I would say a really big one was, and I don't know where this came from, but this lone wolf mentality of I have to do it all by my damn self. And if I don't, then that means I'm not really successful, or I don't really know what I'm doing because I like really couldn't figure it out on my own. God knows where that came from. But when I left Mind Valley and started my consulting company, I think I was, a bit afraid to admit that I was terrified and hiding and didn't know what I was doing. I mean, I did, but I didn't. Like, that's how I think every entrepreneur probably feels. And it wasn't until I really started asking for help and trusting and joining masterminds and being around like-minded entrepreneurs that I realized, like, oh, wait a second. I don't have to do this on my own. Where did that come from? And I think that, again, I think especially women struggle with this need to kind of prove to the world that they can do it. And then you realize, like, nobody does it alone. Like, self-made doesn't exist.
Yes. Oh, I hate the term self-made. And what I love, one of the things I love about you is we're also in a mutual mastermind in Archangel together. And I love that you ask questions. You ask really good questions. And I think a lot of times women, because we're lone wolves, or we think that exactly what you said. I used to think, okay, if I don't figure this all out by myself, I won't get respected. They're going to think I'm weak. And that's kind of like a masculine energy, which, by the way, I have nothing against masculine energy. I think we embody all the energies, and they're important for business and for our lives. And I felt like, why do I have to, like, why am I so alone? Why don't I have friends? That idea of, like, being lonely at the top, it felt like that, right? But I was like, I feel lonely at the bottom, in the middle, and the top, right? So I love that. And asking good questions. How do you get the courage to ask those good questions in a group? Because you're really good at it.
Thank you. Yeah. When you said that, I was like, am I? Like, really I don't think I am.
Yeah.
I think it's just really kind of practicing it, because it's like to stop. I love that quote that's like, if you're feeling anxiety, you're making it about you.
Yeah.
And so I always think, well, this is coming up for me, so someone else is probably thinking this. And, sometimes it's this, like, I was at a mastermind not that long ago, and I asked a question, and he was like, that's just on the next slide here. And I was like, oh, and I immediately was like, God, why did I ask that question? That's so stupid. And I was like, how did I know? It's on the next slide. And so I think it's just exercising the muscle.
Yeah.
And realizing that curiosity is your best friend in business, and that by asking questions, and anyone who speaks on stages or has been in that environment, there's nothing better than when someone asks you a question. Because if not, you feel like you're monologuing, and then you're like, are they even with me here? Like, I'm not getting anything back. And so when someone asks a question as a speaker, you're like, thank God.
I agree.
God. So I always just think, oh, you know what? I'm going to ask a question and show curiosity, because that's going to edify, and the speaker is going to be happy about this, or whoever's training, if it's on a Zoom call or mastermind or whatever, and lean into that curiosity.
Well, I know something that has been coming up lately that we've been talking about is AI, artificial intelligence, writing copy from AI, using AI to help support you in your business. And, I'm a big fan of humanizing business and not letting AI overtake, but using AI for useful things. Tell me about your perspective on it right now as we're recording.
I'm so glad you asked this. I'm so glad you asked this. So, like, here's the thing. AI is here. It's not going anywhere, and it's affecting all industries across the board. A lot of creatives obviously are worried about it. And right now we're in this, like, hype phase. But the way I see it is, yes, it is a way to streamline certain things in your business, but it is not a shortcut to building a brand that people trust.
That part.
Yes. And I think that what I know for sure is that now and coming forward, there is going to be so much crappy, I was going to say the S word, but like crappy, shitty ass content being published on the internet, that now there is a premium on human creativity,
that part,
originality, bringing unique ideas to the table. And so now everyone's always thinking, hey, it's going to replace my job. I'm like, contraire. Like, this is actually creating such a huge opportunity, because anyone who understands marketing and copywriting and branding and understanding audiences is now going to have something that everybody else is not using, and you're going to float to the top on the sea of crappy content.
Because now marketing, branding, etc. will be an art. Exactly. It will be fine art. fine art, you pay for a premium because humans created it. And I love that because now when there's been a world we've lived in where marketing has sometimes felt like it's de-evolved in terms of not its potency, because marketing is extremely potent, but its integrity has been questioned.
100%.
And rightly so, that now you will see, it will be so clear. There will be a clear divide between what was generated by robots or people who program robots and then people who treat it now like a fine art as well as the craft. So that is exciting.
The AI is a self-reinforcing loop, right?
Yeah.
It creates, regurgitates, and then it creates based on what it regurgitated. It's like a snake eating its own tail.
Yes.
And it's like, yeah, let the snake eat its own tail over there.
Yeah.
I'm going to be focusing over here on really stepping into what it means to truly understand and humanize marketing.
Yeah.
And so I always say, like, when everyone zigs,
Yep.
zag.
Exactly.
Double down on what makes you uniquely human. Trust that, the people who were looking for shortcuts in marketing before are the same people who are going to use AI. Like it's just a different mechanism. It's
100%.
not actually changing what people really want. And that's the hilarious thing. It's like we're talking about marketing. It's about being able to persuade humans.
Yeah.
So ethically persuade humans. So I think that it's exciting. It's changing a lot of ways people are working. There are certain things that I will use it for in my business, and there's certain things that I won't. Mm-hmm. And really, I encourage all entrepreneurs to really start thinking about what your policy is on it.
Yeah.
Because, I said to my team, let's get clear on what we'll use it for. And what we'll use it for is improving the customer experience, accessibility of our content, research and ideation, but never copying anything word for word, and always being fully transparent if they are ever interacting with a bot or something that isn't me and it's all AI, being fully transparent because I don't want to lose the trust that I've worked so hard to build.
Absolutely. I mean, and by the way, we've been doing this already. I don't know if you use messenger bots or whatnot. Even same thing. We've had a messenger bot up on my Facebook and my Instagram page, honestly, probably at least 6 or 7 years. And it's called Brandy.
Mine's Benny. That's so funny. I didn't even know. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Like, this isn't Gen Chem, obviously.
Right. We don't,
Brandy,
we have to tell what is the truth, and people will. Trust is what brand is. Reputation is what brand is. And one of the biggest crimes I see on these internet streets is all this work you've done to glow up, to grow up, to show up. And then in one instance, you can lose that trust. Now that's a crime. So let's all not do that.
Let's just be cool.
Yeah, let's just be cool. Let's be ourselves. Well, let's talk about something you are working on next or would like to be working on next.
So I always go back to my mission, which you hinted at it earlier, is to de-douchify the internet, redefine modern marketing, and build an empathy empire. So for me, I'm all about creating memorable experiences and marketing experiences for my audience, but also serving copywriters and entrepreneurs alike. So when I started my YouTube channel, I thought I was going to be working with entrepreneurs because that was my experience for the decade before that. But then what happened is so many people coming to me saying, how do I do what you do? And I'm like, oh, okay, people want to learn how to be freelance copywriters. And I, built a beautiful business doing that. And now I'm really starting to create more programs and experiences for entrepreneurs because that's really where I thrive and where I love to live.
And you secretly told me, can we tell people what it's called or your new project?
Yes.
Copy Eye?
Yeah, the Posse Eye. So this is really exciting is for years I would create what I call brand voice guides for my clients. And basically it was, anytime a company was like, well, we're growing, but I find that the customer service team isn't on the same page as the ad team, isn't on the same page as the social team. And so I would create what I called a brand voice guide that was a unifying document that showed everything the company was about and how it communicates via copy, messaging, and all of that. And so I'm teaching that in a program called the Posse Eye, and it'll be available when this comes out.
Oh, I'm so excited. Okay, we're going to do something really quick called the Femmefluencer Fire Round. Okay.
What, like one-word answers?
Well, if you can.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Favorite book?
The Alchemist.
Oh, I love that book. Favorite city, state, country that you ever visited or would like to?
Just Italy, anywhere in Italy.
Oh, same girl, same. Nike or Adidas?
Nike.
Okay. Someone you'd like to meet or be mentored by.
Rihanna.
Or not.
That girl Riri, if you're watching this, call me.
Please.
Please just call me. Call us.
Okay, we could have a whole episode on the Super Bowl.
Oh God,
Maybe we need to.
Sidebar episode.
Like the branding. Okay.
I know. Don't even get me started.
Let's not go there. But Rihanna, yes. One word that sums up who you are right now.
Storm.
She's
a Bruin baby.
Juicy. Okay, so how do people find you best? How do you like to interact with humans best?
I like to interact with humans on Instagram.
Okay.
So my Instagram is copyposse.
Okay.
Posse. And you can just go to copyposse.com. And that's where like all the things are.
Amazing. And all that information, how to find Alex, how to interact with Alex, how to work with Alex will be under this video. Thank you so much for coming in person.
This was so much fun.
And indulging my thing I wanted to do.
This is everything. I love it so much. Thank you.
Thank you.